What's going on? This is Ken, the super cool Spartan, with my brother Brian, the super mad Spartan. Cue the woodshed, coming to you from the virtual podcast here, talking about the Ohio State game, which, last week we were at a high. We got that much needed win after 2 months.
Was it a high?
In a sense, we got a W, but we're back to the low of the lows again as we got our butts whooped in Buckeye world, and those usual things that have plagued us all season came back to rear its ugly head once again against those fighting Buckeyes. So
I don't. It. I'm not disappointed. It was to be expected, right?
oh
I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
anybody at the beginning of the year even thought if you were going through the schedule and said, "Oh, this is going to be a win." You said no. It's just it's sad when you're expecting to get whooped like this. Like it wasn't even a thing. It was like a normal day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was. So like you always say, let's get to it. Those initial thoughts. We got bum rushed
And
38-3, and pretty much the game was over by halftime because I think at that time it was 35-3 or 35-0. One of those, I can't even remember, but
whatever. It we had our doors blown off like we're accustomed to seeing with this team, this regime, the Mel Tucker regime, when they play a top 10, top 5 opponent. It's just been the norm. Outside of 2021, these are the type of games we've been seeing. And I think that's the biggest indictment of Mel Tucker outside of his firing was the roster construction and what this team is. Of all the everything he was given as a head coach at Michigan State, all the opportunities, all the investment by so many people, and what would have been his fourth year, they came to compete. That's the biggest thing. They came to compete on the field versus these teams.
yeah, you're right. You're right. It's This year's been a very telling year in the sense that everything that Mel Tucker was talking about and promoting and coming up to this point, the keep chopping to, bringing out the G wagons on Spartan Stadium for the recruiting and, the pit bulls. I mean, they're all just really tallied up to nothing. I mean, outside of the
All the
2021
sizzle, no
season.
steak.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much true. And if he was still coaching, without question, uh, next year going into his fifth season, yeah, he'd be feeling the heat. I mean, that probably would be the year of talking about him being fired because post 2021, back to back seasons of just horrendous looking football product on the field. This year is worse than last year. So, yeah. When this team
At
really
least
comes up against a really, like you said, a top 10, like a real team, top 10 opponent, just get mollywopped.
not even it. I called Michigan State a get right team, and this looked like what you would expect a prize fighter with a sparring partner. Like he's wanted a good little sweat before he goes out and faces a real opponent. Michigan State was just a warm up for Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
We
Oh, yeah.
made
And the
Ohio
commentators
State
even
look
preferenced
so
that.
good.
Yeah. The commentators even preferenced that because before the game came on, they were talking about, well, Ohio State, they're still trying to get, some things together, maybe with the passing game and the running game, because I think their running back just got back on the field. There's a Trevion Henderson.
Yeah, it's like his
I
second or
think he
third
just
game
came
back now.
back, and he looked
Even
like he
they
never missed a beat when he played against us.
and they have the receiver and Buka. I'm sorry, I'm killing his
Yeah, I
name.
know
He's a
you're
really good
talking
player.
about.
He's just come back from injury. He's just getting right. And Michigan State's just there as just a good punching bag.
Yeah,
And it's sad to see like Rutgers and all those other teams. You know, Rutgers is not great. They went toe to toe though. At least they competed for a half. We
right.
made Ohio State look the best they've looked all season on offense.
Yeah, yeah. And as I was watching the game, I was thinking about your comment about how we're the get right team, and that game reflected that
It is, and this,
without question.
it's not all the players' fault. We all, we're getting harp on it, so we might as well just go on to move on to the good Sparty, bad Sparty. Just, just,
Or bad
this is called
Sparty, bad
Sparty.
Sparty,
I
bad
don't know
Sparty, batter.
much good you could take from the game. I guess, like you said, you had Jonathan Kim cook the 50-plus yard field goal.
Yeah, that's it.
The offensive
That
line
is
was
it.
completely terrible. Hauser had time to throw the ball. Like it didn't even get anywhere though. And then
No,
you know what really
no.
bothered me during the the game is I turned it on mute eventually because I listened to our father, but I don't listen to the pot, not listen to the commentators because they just sometimes they just make the most nonsensical comments. Like they're giving all this praise to Jay Johnson and he's come up with these play calls and this and that and he's just making up stuff about Michigan State. It's just for talking points. It's like, bro, we're watching the game. We can see it. We're not good. We know we're not good.
No.
Oh, look at this
Mm-mm.
play call that got this and got that. It was like our offense. I just you see the same stuff every game. You see receivers in the same areas, penalties, special teams penalties again, formational. It's like
Yeah.
it's just
Yes.
every game, and it's crazy because as much as we bag on the special teams coach, the only thing he's good at is finding punters. We have two really good punters the last couple of years, and it's like,
And they've gotten a lot of work.
yay,
They've
yes.
gotten a lot of work.
It's
So
just and it's the same stuff. And I'm trying not to curse a whole lot because I'm getting mad about it.
you know,
Cause just
but damn.
it's just God, I just can't even compete in this weird play calls, weird coaching decisions. I'm there trying to think like, why are we even kicking these field goals? What's the
Right.
point? You might as well
Right.
go for it.
Right.
I remember the first field goal was like 56 yards or something, and I was thinking, let's just. I know if he makes it, okay, yeah, it's a long field goal, but if he misses this field goal, you're giving Ohio State the ball
Like the halfway point
in
of the
really good
field.
in good field position, and our defense is not going to do a whole lot to stop. And as good as the defense has been playing, I don't think there are too many structural things bad with the defense this game. It's just they have better players.
Oh
They
my
just made
God.
plays.
Yes. Yes.
Like you put out bad Sparty couldn't defend Marvin Harrison Jr. He just
Oh
just ate
man.
us up. I was just thinking like, what? Can we double team him like man to man double team? Like him not he's not getting the ball. Make somebody else beat us. But they would halfway double team and touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. His his Heisman when he because he's going to be in the Heisman discussion as he should be. A lot of his tapes is going to be with Michigan State.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say that same thing, that his NFL tape is alone is gonna be from the MSU game, because he himself just ate up the corners, safeties, I mean the entire backfield. I mean, he had a he had to have had a career day against us because
He only
what he
played like
scored, he
two
scored
and a
like
half
what, four
quarters,
touchdowns, four
three or
touchdowns
four.
by
I don't.
himself.
He made. Then he had Kyle McCord. That's the best Ohio State quarterback. That's the best he's looked all year. He's just sitting back there, patting the ball, throwing
Did he even
dimes. I'm
get
like,
sacked at all? Did he get sacked?
I don't know.
I don't
Maybe
think he
I should
did.
look it up, but does it
I don't think he
matter?
got sacked at
Because
all.
he might not have got breathed on. Who knows?
I don't think he did.
But he was a very highly rated guy, and you saw it versus Michigan State. Maybe it's all coming together for Ohio State. I don't know. I haven't seen them play a game this crisp all year, and it was to be expected. And I just had a feeling like Michigan State is going to come out there to Columbus, and they're going to make Ohio State look like they're the number one team in the country.
Oh
I
yeah,
assume
they
it's still number
did.
one. I don't know. I haven't looked at the rankings yet. I know they came out earlier tonight. I assume they haven't changed.
Yeah. Oh, actually, it did. I have the. Oh, they did change. They're number two now. Georgia's
Who's the
number
number
one.
one? I can live with Georgia's number being number one. Is this top four still the same?
Yeah, it's still the same. It's just that Georgia and Ohio State they flipped. Georgia's one, Ohio State's two, Scum is three, Florida State's four. I think Washington's still sitting at five. So,
Interesting.
and I think because
I mean, just to go off tangent,
Georgia
a
beat, I
tangent.
think Ole Miss.
Yeah, they beat Ole Miss last weekend. Week before that, they beat Missouri. They're both ranked teams, so I don't have any issue with that. And Georgia's looking like Georgia. I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
interesting that they have Florida State over Washington if they're going to use resume. That's my only. And I talked about it last week because Florida State they haven't beaten anybody. The ACC, I don't know who's even ranked in the ACC. So for
Just
Florida
them.
State, at least, all right,
And
Washington they beat Oregon,
Notre Dame. Well, I don't know. I think Notre Dame still may be ranked.
but they're in
And I
the.
don't. Did they play each other? And by the way, you see how bad our team is because we're not even talking about our game. We're talking about CFP rankings. That's
I mean,
how
because what's
bad the mighty has fallen.
I mean, what is it to talk about with Michigan State? We can go in. We could probably cut up the last like 6 episodes and have this exact same episode and be people they would know the difference.
Oh boy!
You could have
Eh,
virtual Mad Sparty and virtual Cool Sparty, and they were just talking points.
right
Offense was
or
bad. Special teams penalties.
or better yet, AI good Sparty, bad Sparty.
CTP.
Right.
It's
Now,
just
one thing I do
okay.
have to bring up, Brian, and this is, I didn't even know this stat was even kept. I mean, I don't know if it actually is. So after the game, I was just chopping it up with my college buddies in our group chat, right? And I told them after I checked the team stats, this is another bad Sparty, like horrendous Sparty. That well, two things. One, our total yards was a 182. Ohio State's was like close to 600. Our total yards was 182. So of that, passing yards was 88 yards. So when I look deeper into the numbers, 92 of those passing yards were Hauser. His backup, which Schooner, or I don't even know what the kid's name is, he had
Oh
negative
yeah.
4 yards passing.
I didn't even.
Negative
I turned the
4.
game when he came into it. Like I had turned it before he came
I'm
in. Like, okay, this
like,
game's done. I'm going to.
how do you have negative 4 yards? I mean, did you pass like way behind the line of scrimmage? Like, how do you have
They're
negative
probably
passing yards?
it's probably trying to do one of those like screen wide receiver screens or something. The guy got tackled
And he threw
immediately.
it too far back.
I don't, I have no clue. I didn't watch when I had turned the game for a moment. Then when I came back, they had mentioned that he got into the game. But at that point, House they had the ball back. It was just kneeling it out. So I was like, okay.
I'm like, wow.
Well, Sam
I
Levis
mean,
taking his red shirt. Good for him.
yeah, I mean that's a good Sparty for him. But when I saw that
Uh,
-4 passing yards from the backup, I'm like, that's one hell of a like lateral pass. I mean, you passing behind yourself to have
man,
negative
it's just
passing yards. Like
you know what's
Jesus.
crazy? You watch the game. It's the same issue that state is that's plagued Michigan State basically since 2017. They move the ball a little bit, something happens, they get off track, and then they have to punt. And they did it. This is the same thing that happened versus Michigan. They move the ball for like a second, maybe one good play, maybe get a first down, up, false start, up, penalty, up, two dumb play
Holding.
calls in a row.
Yep.
It's always something.
Punt.
Like they ran the ball effectively in this game, which is crazy. Watching it, like okay, yeah, they had a little juice, they had a little spark here and there. Um, Jaron Mangum, I wish he would have been around more of the year. I know he was hurt, but you could see like man, he ran with some toughness. That guy was getting some tough yardage. We missed that dearly in several of these games. But again, it didn't
Right.
all for nothing. Just they no points on the board, nothing to show for it. They barely. I don't think they even got into the red zone. I think the closest they got was like the 36-yard line, and then they I think it was like a sack or something. And then they ended up maybe kicking a field goal or punting. Who knows? It's just 2 games left. It's a
And
countdown.
I've starting to wonder if the play calling by Jay Johnson is just like if he's like, you know what, we're not going to win this game. I'm just going to call these BS plays. I know they're not going to go anywhere. Let's just go through the motions and get the hell out of here with this loss.
They
Because
could have
the
AI
way
replace
that,
him.
yeah, because the way, I mean, like you said, the times
Ask
where he
Madden.
calls these, yeah, the time he makes these stupid play calls, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's like he's just like, you know what? You only got 2 more games left. I'm looking at my watch. I'm just buying my time, get my last couple of paychecks. I know I'm not going to be here. I'm just going to just cause some bullshit and
But it's
get up
hard to
out of
say too,
here.
right?
Thank
I
you.
know we bag on Jay Johnson and rightfully so, but we can't pretend like all the execution is great. You can't pretend that all right. So there's always every game there's the same few message board things that pop up on Spartan Tailgate. The receivers can't get separation. I'm like, well, I don't think that's true. I see the receivers get open plenty, but then there are tight windows that have to throw, so you have to have a really good quarterback. And Hauser, I'm not saying he's been terrible or anything, but there's throws that he makes that scares me. Um, I thought he had better arm strength than because they always kind of hyped him up. And I'm saying these critical things, and I'm gonna get to the good parts of how this game. Um, but sometimes they call these. I don't think they call plays that are to his strength as a thrower because sometimes Jay Johnson calls these
Okay.
plays where he has to make this long throw across the to the other hash mark, and because he doesn't have that cutting, fast paced, ball, it seemed like it floats. Like it just takes like it seems like it takes a long time to get there. And so I was just
Mm-hmm.
scared to death of there being a pick six and I just it's always very close because sometimes besides the bad play calls, somebody will be open, but he won't see it right away or he won't trust his eyes right away to make that
Mm-hmm.
throw in a timing route to get that receiver open. And then just that second, it's gone, and he throws that ball a half second late, and it's behind the receiver, and they can't catch it. And so again, why are we calling these plays that he can't execute the play based on his abilities?
And
Why
isn't
are we
Jay Johnson
not?
the quarterback coach too? Ain't he
Yes,
the QB coach?
yes.
So I
And
would think
so,
that as the QB coach, he would know this because he's coaching the damn quarterbacks. To me,
so that's what.
he should know what the each quarterback's strengths and weaknesses are. So I would think that when he's calling these plays as the OC, he would say, "Okay, this is what I'm working with, but this specific quarterback, I'm gonna call the plays based off that." But
So, and I think and this is my opinion. I'm not a football expert. I know I'm talking like I'm trying to get more technical and stuff, but these just kind of observations. So now that everybody's seen Sam Levitt, he has a stronger arm apparently than Hauser. So
mm-hmm,
hold on. So he can make those throws and it looks different.
mm-hmm,
And he does this again. So we're going to a new quarterback yet again. So it's just, these issues.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I liked how, like you said, how the commentators they're really doing their best to say something about MSU and not just take up the whole time talking about Ohio State. I mean, I know they talked about Harlan Barnett and how much he bleeds green and white, and you know they said at the minimum he's going to get an interview for the H for the you know, HC position, which we know he's not going to get, but yeah,
Yeah, he'll get an interview because yeah, but no way.
right. And it's funny because I've been seeing these articles, and you probably seen them too, about the the alleged final list, I guess, about for the next head coach that, or at least the four coaches that her, Alan Haller has targeted to interview. One of them, I think, came out today saying that at least publicly, nah, he's denying that he's interviewed for the MSU job. I think it's the coach from Kansas, but
Lance Leopold. It's
yeah,
we'll see with these recent firings. It's gonna get interesting because
yeah. Speaking of which, I know we're kind of getting off track again. Maybe not, but with what's his name getting fired, Jimbo Fisher. Like, wow, that was a surprise.
yeah, they want him gone bad.
Oh yeah, yeah, because he got a 10-year contract like Tucker did, and they was like, "No, you out of there," and they willing to pay that money. They're willing to pay the buy him his contract out and say, "Get the hell up out of here." But
Basically,
Texas
so it's like
A&M,
$12 million, and then he has to pay like 7.5 every year. Like it's
yep,
crazy.
yep. But hey, Texas A&M, they got that oil money, so those alums they can just go pump that money out at the Gulf, Gulf of Mexico, and have that money flow back to the university.
Yeah, so that affects Michigan State because Mike Elko used to coach there.
Yeah,
So
I did see on Instagram, their potential coaching candidate list, and his name was on there. So
yeah, it's we don't know who the coach is going to be. It's going to be they were just talking about this today on 97.1 The Ticket with Mike Valeni, and there hasn't been any like leaks of like this is the guy they're going for. They're just like little whispers. So the Michigan State's been playing it
hmm
very close to the vest, but there a lot of the targets we've been talking about, Jonathan Smith out of Oregon State, Lance Leopold, Mike Elko, um, I can't
who's the
think
guy
who
from
else we kind of
Washington
mentioned.
State?
Jake
And
Dickers,
yeah, yeah.
I think he's kind of out the way now, but who knows? So there's a lot of moving parts, right? So Chip Kelly might be going at UCLA, so UCLA might look at Jonathan Smith from Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
He's a West Coast guy, so looks good. We're talking about Mike Elko. Lance Leopold said this is his last coaching stop is going to be at Kansas. That could be
Yeah.
coach speak. Who knows?
Right.
So that's looking like they're gonna. I just hope that because the families are gonna be mad regardless. I think because it's not gonna be Urban Meyer, and
Mm-hmm.
so if it's not one of those names we talked about, it's gonna be somebody like I don't know, some like Jason Crandall or some unknown. Everyone's gonna be like, "Boo!"
Yeah.
And that person better they got to win quick because Spartan Nation's tired of losing. 7 years, one good year since then. It's not a good look.
Yeah. I mean, since like you said, since 2016, we've only had two, I guess you say, successful years in the sense that, 2021, 11-2. I think in 2017, did Michigan State go 11-2 in 2017, including the bowl game
ten
win?
and three, I believe. I think it was
Yeah,
10 and
something
three.
like that. And then outside of that, I mean, D'Antonio's last years, I mean, they were winning. I mean, they're like what 6-6, 7-5. But outside of
Yeah,
that,
7-5
three
back
and
to back, I
nine,
believe.
5-7, 3-9, 7-5. I
It's
mean, 5-7. Probably gonna be three and well,
just
I don't know because our next game is against lowly Indiana, so this could be the
we're
toilet
expected to lose
bowl.
every day. We're the underdog in that game.
Are you serious?
So yes,
Wow, battle of the
on the road
losers. Wow. So this could be another 3-9 year. So
probably.
yeah, and like I've always been saying, we've talked about it, and I've talked about it, with my MSU buddies that you know we're definitely in the danger zone of becoming, you know, in the next, Indiana or
A doormat,
Purdue,
uh, a non-factor in the Big
a
Ten,
non-factor for
a
the
complete
next at
complete
least
non-factor.
5 years.
Like I know we
So
bag on Penn State, but at least they win in 10 games a year. I know it's kind of
yeah,
meaningless now because we're not beating Michigan, Ohio State. What does it mean? But if you can win 9, 10 games with these new teams coming in, that means you had a decent year. You're gonna be in the playoffs. So we're
oh
not even close
yeah,
to that
yeah,
because Penn State's
because
gonna smack
we've
us in the face in a
seen,
couple weeks.
oh yeah, most definitely, and we've seen, especially this year in the Big Ten, that as long as you win the games that you're supposed to win, I mean, that's at least 8 victories outside of the
Yes,
non-conference at the very least. Because if you take L's to Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, that's just 3 losses. And you may take a L,
and beat
like for a
everybody else.
hard, yeah. And you may take a L, to a team that may be at your level. So at the minimum, you can go 8-4 at the minimum.
That's what we were trying to claw back to. I said 7-5 this year because I figured, okay, we have a
I
young
said eight
team,
and
and
four.
then we're just all off the rails. And
Yeah,
honestly, I don't think we would be much better if Tucker was here. Maybe one or two more victories,
yeah.
maybe.
It could be like a identical 5-7 because we probably could have at least beaten Maryland and
I don't
Iowa.
think it's beating Maryland. Maybe I don't know. And it's hard to say
Well,
because
also maybe Iowa and
even
Rutgers
without the
then.
same coaching blunders are happening. Maybe I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
It's hard to see.
As yeah. So
Well, we already
I don't
talked
know,
about it. Might as well
man.
move on to our next opponent. Indiana, the Hoosiers, forks down.
Yeah,
I might be
identical
want to talk junk about
record,
them because
3-7.
the playing for the brass spittoon.
Mm-hmm. Which we
Not
haven't
to put us both
seen
in the brass
since
spittoon.
we haven't seen that since 2021
Yeah, we lost last
because
year on
yeah, we lost last
for
year
me on some
and then we
ridiculous
lose in
stuff.
20. Yeah, we lost in 2020. We lost back to back against Indiana.
Did we play them in
No, we didn't
2020?
because
This COVID
yeah, we
season, we
lost
probably
to
remember
the
starting
yeah, we
COVID
lost
games.
to the yeah, we lost them in the COVID year. Then we beat them in
Well,
2021 and then we had that heartbreaking terrible program loss last year. So,
yeah, we could. I honestly, I don't even know because I don't know what to expect from this team. I don't know what to expect from the offensive line. I don't know what to expect from the quarterbacks. I don't know what to expect from the defense. Sometimes the defense has been more consistent than most spaces, but again, they just it's always something with this team. So it's always because I know he's having injuries are piling up. You know, Trey Mosley's been hurt for a while. Dylan Tatum, our starting cornerback, is done for the year.
oh
Uh,
yeah, they did say that. And
they
you know,
announced
I
it during the
have
game and
to
just, oh, he's done for the year. Like, oh,
yeah, I have to ask this question. And it's a rhetorical question. And this was something I was thinking about after I read I think it was an article in Sports Illustrated about MSU after they lost to Ohio State. All of the injuries that have happened to this team this year and last year. And I know injuries are a part of the game and injuries are legit. I get it. But for some reason, why is like all these rash of injuries that happen to us? I
I
mean,
do
and
not
I
know.
get it. I mean, you know, things happen on the field, you know, where you could have, you know, you're involved with one play and some player could just fall on the back of your leg and take you out. I get it, but it just seems like we've been putting on like mash units for the past couple of years. And I'm just wondering, and I know that Tucker had mentioned this maybe at the beginning of this year or maybe last year when he was talking about, you know, all the injuries and how they did some different things, I guess, coming into the new year. But it's the same result. So I'm just wondering from a
I think there are less
coaching
injuries. It just seems like
perspective.
in different spots, and it might be strength and condition. Cannot I know I have no clue.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is it strength and conditioning coach that doing their job? Is it, you know, they
I
bad
don't know.
diets? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know,
And
Ken.
I know, like I
Honestly, I
said, I
do
get
not
it.
know.
Injuries are a part of the game, but it just seems like, you know, for this, but you know, for this team, injuries just always mount up. I mean, just
Well, this time of the
it's
year,
just the
yeah,
crazy stat,
it just happens. Yeah, people. I don't know. Who knows?
right?
Again,
But
we'll find
back to
out.
Indiana, yeah, they're a toilet bowl team like us. They're 3-7. They took a loss at Illinois last week, and yeah, this is a battle for the spittoon. And
They scored 45 points. When was the last time Michigan State scored 45 points? When was the last time Michigan State scored 30 points? Richmond?
2021.
Like, we haven't put up 3 touchdowns in a game in we score 3 touchdowns versus Nebraska? I don't think we did. No.
We scored three against Rutgers and still lost. We because we scored 24 points in that game, but we gave up 27 to lose. So.
Well. Oh well.
Yeah. So, yep. And, one thing I was thinking about too, I'm surprised that Indiana's coach is still coaching. Tom, what's his name? Tom something. I'm surprised he still has a job at
It's Tom
Indiana
Allen.
because, yeah, Allen, because he has done nothing at Indiana. I mean, just
They were good for a second. They had like that one good season, and then
yeah, that was the COVID year. That was it.
returned to the mean. Yeah, you're right.
That was the COVID year. Outside of that, but anyway, yeah, that's our next opponent. Battle of the losers. 3-7 plus 3-7 versus 3-7.
It's a noon game, so they get it out the way quick. I like
Right.
that. I like when they have us noon games. I hate we have to wait all day for
uh,
a loss,
yeah.
a
Right.
non-competitive game.
Right. Right. So before I get to the fun fact, and we talked about this a little bit, um, I just wanted to chop it up a little bit about the the Michigan sign stealing scandal. And the reason I wanted to have a conversation about it is because, in relating it to coverage of how Michigan State's been covered nationally when it comes to their scandals back in the day. And it's very interesting how, when the heat is all over Michigan, they know how it feels now when they've probably heard us whining about how some things were covered, by us or on us, back in our days of, Larry Nasser. And definitely, we deserve all that heat when it came to how that was handled. But how back in
Well,
the
yes,
day they
the
tried to
school
lump,
did, but
yeah,
yeah,
the
go ahead. I'm
school
sorry.
did. I'm talking about the school, yeah. But the way how ESPN has kind of flipped the script and tried to, you know, have Tom Izzo involved, Mark D'Antoni involved, like him, Izzo, and Nash, like they hung on like the three amigos or something. And
Yeah,
ESPN, they just
D'Antonio.
kept
Yeah,
running
they
that story all
the
day, every day.
montage. You
Yes.
have Izzo, Nasser, D'Antonio. Is like that's so unfair, and
Right.
Michigan will never get that type of blowback. Um, but they're seeing now what happens once the national media gets a hold of your story,
Right.
and
And that's the point I'm
I think
making.
the difference is they deserve it.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, definitely.
one thing I it's just so interesting to me since we're here. All of a sudden, Michigan they're victims now, and
Yes. That is so
I'm
funny.
glad that's I'm glad certain media members are calling it out. Like they had the coach crying at the end of the game.
Right.
Like he's not
Right.
dead. He's not going to jail. He's at the team hotel eating pizza probably. And so what I what I am glad to see is that we always talk about the hope that is some of their fan base, and there are fan bases have their section, but now it's on full blast. Like no one is a, no one is persecuting Michigan as if there's just to get us. Like no, y'all did that shit, right? Like
Right. That's the right. That is so funny. That is so funny, Brian, because um, I have been, and you know that I have been putting posts on our TikTok page, Instagram page. By the way, You can check us out on Instagram and TikTok, Q the Woodshed. I've been posting videos of First Take, where Stephen A. Smith's been talking about it, and their college talking head Paul Feinbaum, and they Desmond Howard has gotten so much talking on ESPN like throughout the whole day is ridiculous. But it's just so funny how Stephen A. Smith and Paul Feinbaum and Shannon Sharp, particularly Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp, they've really been,
Yes.
pounding that drum about how, stop being the victims and, come on now. They really have been leading that charge.
I was like,
And
so much so
even
these
on
kids
our
have been like, what
Instagram
about the other
page,
teams? The
when I was
teams you're
checking it
cheating.
earlier today, yeah, they're right, right. I mean, this it that is just so funny, just how they're acting like it's they're this act really like Trump like, to be honest, where they know that you did this egregious act, you did it, and now it's like, oh yeah, we did it, but hey, we want due process, and we deserve this, we deserve that. Well, Ohio State did it, and Rutgers did it, Purdue did it, everybody does it. So if everybody does it, why is everybody coming on us? Well, because you got caught. I mean, you literally had an operation where you had some dude going to different stadiums across the country stealing signs, and you got caught doing it.
And it's and it was even funny. Like, oh, Jim Harbaugh got suspended. And like he
Right,
gets the coach throughout the week. The Big Ten dished out the most hollow punishment they could for them. It's not like they said, "Hey, you can't coach, you can't do this, you can't." They said, "Okay, you just can't be there on game day." Essentially, that's your punishment. And most of the teams in the Big Ten, the players can go out there and draw it up in the sand lot and still beat almost every team in the Big Ten except Ohio State, probably. Because
right.
Penn State with James Franklin, you already know. You already knew it's funny at work. On last Friday, somebody put in our team's chat about Harbaugh being suspended and you know Penn State, and I immediately said, as long as James Franklin is coaching at Penn State, you're going to win this game. And it was so funny because right after the game, my boss texted me and said, "Brian, you're so right. I've never seen such a poorly called." I was like, it's just every time I've seen James Franklin do it. I've seen him come into Spartan Stadium and lose to inferior Spartan teams. Like we should beat that Penn State team. We did it. We did 2 years in a row. It was 18, yeah, 17 and 18. They beat Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
And those weren't great teams. And Penn State is normally pretty good, but James Franklin finds ways to lose games, and it's
Oh
always the
yeah.
same way. It's
Yep.
always some weird fourth down going for it we don't need to, or punts, and then his logic is never steady. In that Michigan game, he goes for two for some reason after they score their touchdown. I'm like, dude, it's like the second quarter. It's gonna be 14-10. What do you?
Right. Then he turns around
Then
and fires his offensive coordinator.
it's good. I know it's hard to get rid of a coach who's winning you 10 games a year because you could do worse. And I feel like Nebraska is that Big Ten school of be careful what you wish for. Because Bo
Mm-hmm.
Pelini was winning 9, 10 games a year, but he wasn't winning enough, and they got rid of him. And then they ain't sniffed double digit wins since. So Penn State is kind of in the
Nope.
same way. They're good enough to beat everybody else, but when it comes to those big games, when those 5 or 6 play calls that's gonna determine the game. James Fleck is gonna give you 4 or 5 ridiculous play calls, and it affects the rest. It's just
Yep.
I'll be so frustrated as a Penn State fan, but Oh well, at
Oh
least they
yeah,
winning.
right. Yeah, unlike us, and yeah, it's this whole sign stealing thing, boy. It's got Michigan fans, boy, and and we both have friends that went to Michigan, so it's not like we're just trying
I have
to
best
just
friends that are Michigan, and they're I have
yeah.
my friends. I can say they're very much reasonable fans, and they're just trying to win, and they know it. They're
Hmm.
not going on these these message boards like we should leave the Big Ten and all this other ridiculous stuff I've been seeing. Like, no, just stop it.
Right,
Just stop
right.
it.
Yeah, the
Y'all
ones I
got
know,
caught
they're pretty
cheating.
reasonable too. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's just that's the craziest part, and they always get caught up in oh it's so unfair and the Big Ten looks bad. I do agree the Big Ten does look bad from the standpoint of how they manage the message of it all. But if you're gonna hand out a punishment, hand out a punishment. And I know they're gonna wait for the NCAA, and that's gonna. So Michigan's banking on essentially, hey, we can win the championship, and we don't give a damn about what happens in 2024.
right.
And I feel it because if it was Michigan State, I'm like, yo, let's go win this chip. They can't take away my memories.
Yeah, it's just funny how Michigan's front and center, and all of the university is all up in arms, and Jim Harbaugh going on TV talking about, oh yeah, we're America's
I
team,
think that's
we're America's
that's the
team.
craziest part to me. The administration is jumping off the window for this, and I'm like, y'all going at some point you're gonna have to come to reality. Even in Michigan, they sent the letter out. The letter didn't. The one thing the letter didn't contain was we didn't do this. We didn't cheat. It was
Right. None of
attacking
the
the
letters
process.
have, because I
It's not
heard
about the
on
actual accusations.
right,
Not about any. It's about attacking the process, throwing shade, throwing mud, throwing a tantrum. And this
right. That's
we
and
didn't
when I
do it. Like
hear right,
okay,
and like when I hear Desmond Howard, that's all he talks about on ESPN.
this
He's
wouldn't
all
happen in
like,
the SEC.
right, this would have happened to
Okay,
SEC or what if Alabama did
they
it,
would
right?
they
And
wouldn't
it's
have got if
alleged,
Alabama
it's
did it.
alleged,
If this was any other school in the big, if this was Ohio State, Michigan fans would be incredulous. And so I thought it was funny when they said, "Oh, they're going to release all this information about other Big Ten schools." I was like, "BS," because Michigan would have been released this stuff. As bad as Ohio State was beating them for the last 20 years,
right?
if they
Ohio,
had
if it
dirt
was Ohio
and they
State, oh
thought to
yeah,
get
they
Ohio
definitely
State in trouble,
be
they would have been released.
cheering and prosecuting them, persecuting them.
We know how they are. Get to that fun fact. We're going kind of long today.
Yes. So, our fun fact for today is do you know who leads the football program in interceptions? And this is one of those
Interceptions.
facts. Yeah, this is one of those facts that goes way back in the books of MSU football history.
I have no clue.
So the all-time interception leader for Michigan State, I have to get this correct. The guy's name is Lynn Shandonis, Chandnois. He played for Michigan State back in the mid to late 40s, bro. And
Wow.
he leads the he's an all-time interception leader with 20 interceptions. 1946 to
20's,
1949.
20's a grip
Yes.
though.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I
And
feel
when I
it.
was looking, when I found this, I thought it would have been like someone like from the no fly zone era, like Trey Waynes or Darquez Denard. But
Cuesinart.
yeah, this guy Lynn Chandnois, 20 interceptions. 1946 to 1949. He still holds that record.
Okay, it's good to
So
know.
I
Get
can't
some more
even tell you
interceptions
who
in
was.
there.
I can't even tell you who was with Michigan State football back in that time. I mean,
Mm,
we're talking about like the World War II era. So, but yeah, he's the all-time interception leader for Michigan State.
okay,
So
okay. Another
these
excellent
fun
fun fact.
facts, yep, these fun facts continue to prove that despite what's going on right now, MSU has a rich football history.
Okay.
So, so with that, another fun-filled episode of Cue the Woodshed. This time on the virtual tip. So, with that, I am Ken, the super cool Spartan, except for this week once again, chopping it up with my brother, Brian, the super mad Spartan, Williams Inc. Like I mentioned before, check us out on Instagram and TikTok, and also check us out on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. We love to hear from you. One thing I did mention, Brian, before we leave, is that our social media has been blowing up lately. So
Okay, that's good.
we love to hear from you. We've gotten some pretty cool messages back that I've responded to. So feel free to check us out on our social media. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, and we out. Cue the woodshed.
All right. Nice.